Hey, welcome to Three Count Commentaries. Let's talk about Randy Orton. So, Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss did a thing on Raw. First, we have to talk about Randy Orton, who has kind of been in a rut for a little while. He really hasn't had much to say. He's been talking about setting the Fiend on fire since he set the Fiend on fire. It's like we got it. We've seen flashbacks, 100 flashbacks of you setting the Fiend on fire. So essentially, he says that Alexa Bliss has been distracting him. If she don't leave him alone, he gonna set her on fire too, which leads Alexa Bliss to giggle, and she's sitting in a dark room not even a dark room anymore. It's kind of like a dimly lit room. She's got a jack in the box. She's sitting on the floor, and then she's giggling, and she's playing with the jack in the box. It plays the little jingle that goes with the jack in the box, and she's like, "Bring him back, bring him back." Him obviously meaning the Fiend. Bring him back. So Randy is watching via a screen, and then Nega Randy Orton, Dark Randy Orton, appears on the screen. He's got this hoodie on. His eyes are completely black. His lips are moving, but it's not Randy Orton's voice coming out. I don't know whose voice it is. Not like Wyatt's voice or anything. And basically saying that Randy Orton is going to come face to face with everything that he's ever done. And I was like, oh, interesting. So this leads a lot of people to think that there's going to be a Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania. Um, and you know what? That would be fun if there weren't going to be people in the building. If there weren't going to be people in the building, that would be fun. But since there are going to be people there, how are they actually going to do it? That's going to be my question. Now, I'm 100% fine with the concept of Fiend versus Orton. I like that idea. Go ahead and finish this feud. Maybe send Randy Orton home for like 6 months, to give him, a little goodbye. Maybe he could take 2021 off and let somebody else move up that spot. But let's talk about the Randy Orton, the mirror Randy Orton. Now, I've been talking about the mirror a lot lately. Like ever since I brought it up, it's like, hey, here's some more. Where you got this guy, he's Randy Orton, and he's on this TV screen, and he's got Orton's face, but not his eyes, not his voice, not his inside. The inside of Randy Orton is different. The inside of this Randy Orton is different. It's corrupt. And he's like possessed, being possessed. And of course, Randy, as he sees this, he's, beginning to choke up. He's, doing all that stuff. So we're getting, this is not really a mirror though. This is more of a double. Now, the mirror, for those of you who don't know, the mirror is a character that is a warped version of the hero, Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, for instance. Like I said, you had Big E and Apollo Crews. Think Superman, Zod, Goku and Vegeta. That kind of thing. Where you very, very similar. Now, a double is somebody who's basically the same. So you have this situation, which would be if you know your Dragon Ball lore, Goku and Turles, right? Turles looks just like Goku, but he's vastly different. I'm trying to think of somebody that might be a little bit more mainstream. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Cyborg Superman is in one. Superman, Cyborg Superman. So you have these characters sometimes that are just the double of the hero, where they kind of look the same, but they're a little bit different. And in this situation, Randy Orton is really the hero, but he's coming face to face with this doppelganger version of himself that is corrupted and possessed, by the Fiend. And it's a nice little mind game that they playing here. Now, when I first saw it, I said to myself, okay, I thought they were doing a deep fake, because I have been seeing a lot of this. A lot of people talking about these deep fakes when they were doing like Tom Cruise deep fakes and stuff like that. And the deep fakes are getting pretty wild. Now, for people who don't know, a deep fake is like when you can manipulate images, where you could put Tom Cruise's face on another person, and that person could talk and it look like Tom Cruise is talking to you, because people have digitized Tom Cruise's face and implant it on somebody else's face. They could do that with voices too. Like I've heard, when you do this, of course, you can manipulate. So if you could take somebody's voice and put it into somebody else's face, you could actually change what they're saying and edit what they're saying and stuff like that. So that's something that's really going to be a problem in the future. Not so much right now though. Like people can still tell deep fakes apart. So that's what I thought this was. I thought this was a deep fake, but apparently it was just Randy Orton talking, and they did a voiceover because he was talking. But it was interesting. I'm trying to figure out where we're going with this. Like Randy Orton versus Randy Orton is clear that they're going to do, a similar psychological deep dive on Orton, similar to what they did with John Cena, and that would be fucking sweet. It would be sweet because Randy Orton's a nuttier character than Cena. They basically was telling the story about how fake Cena is, and how who he would have been in the past had he, been around at the time, that he would have been the Hulk Hogan of his era, a muscle bound freak who betrayed the fans and betrayed the WWE, and all he cared about was himself and all that type of stuff. Now, that's going to be a very different road for Randy, because Randy, unlike Cena, Randy was never a heel. I mean, what am I talking about? Cena was never a heel. Well, he was a heel, but once he turned babyface, he never turned back heel. Let's put it like that. He was an aspirational hero. So Randy Orton is not. However, Randy Orton is a villain for the most part. For the most of his run, he's been evil. So now we're looking at maybe like this penance stare type of situation where Randy's going to stare in the face of his own evil soul and melt. For those of you who don't know, the penance stare. I've been doing a lot of nerd shit lately. Shit, people are going to start getting the wrong idea. Anyway, the penance stare is the final sort of big boss move of what they call the Ghost Rider. The penance stare is when the Ghost Rider stares into your eyes, and you feel the guilt from all of the horrible sins that you've committed, and it essentially melts your face and melts your head and all that type of stuff. It's like a one-shot kill. But the penance stare, it's magic or whatever. But it's the spirit of vengeance, bringing the vengeance of all of the evil stuff that you've done on top of you. And I was thinking maybe that's what we're going on with here. That, we're going to have the Fiend is going to, like he, forced John Cena to deal with all of his sins and all of his internal psychological nonsense. He's going to do the same thing to Randy Orton. This should prove quite fatal, because Randy Orton has done enough stuff between 2005 and 2008 to kill anybody. And I'm talking like some really bad, horrible shit, like RKOs to women for no reason, and spitting in Mick Foley's face, and spitting in Jake the Snake Roberts' face, and I think he spit in Harley Race's face. Is just doing wild shit. Setting Undertaker's casket on fire, all type of stuff. Like he did, some crazy stuff just in 2 or 3 years. That was more than enough for him to be facing this kind of mental torture. But I'm interested in where we're going with this. Is it going to be a Firefly Funhouse match? If so, how are they going to act it out with a live audience? Or is it not going to be a live audience? Is it going to be a cinematic match? And 25,000, who knows, 50,000 people, however many people, are going to be sitting there watching a screen. Now, I wouldn't be upset about sitting there watching a screen, if we're being honest. Maybe if the people who are in the building probably wouldn't like it, because you probably want to see those guys fight live. But I don't know, like, how do you do a Firefly Funhouse match and do it the same way, but do it live? Because what made the Firefly Funhouse match so trippy was all the different set pieces. All the bouncing back and forth, the using of all the things that was in the warehouse, like the NWO sets and the WCW set, and the Saturday Night's Main Event set, all that type of stuff. That's what made it fun. All the costume changes and and all that type of stuff. It was so wild, because that's what the show was. The show was just crazy, you know. But I don't see how you can recreate that with a live audience. You certainly can't recreate it with a live audience. So I don't know how they're gonna fix this problem. But in any event, I'm actually interested in Randy Orton versus the Fiend, because I'm interested in what the Fiend is going to look like. Um, I know he's going to look different, but how is he going to look different? Is he going to have a different mask? Is he going to have a different, like, is Wyatt going to shave his head? Is it going to be, I'm just interested in, because the last time I saw him when he was set on fire, when I saw him on Twitter, he hasn't even been tweeting, which is really cool. Like, I think he tweeted when Harper died, but then he hasn't tweeted that much since. Maybe he's been on Instagram or something like that, but I don't see, like, Bray Wyatt. Like, usually when he tweets a lot, people respond a lot, so I usually end up seeing it, but I haven't seen anything tweeted from him. But I saw him tweet like a pupil, like a caterpillar pupil, like you would go into a cocoon and come out like a different creature. And that was like one of the last things he tweeted after he got set on fire, is that basically he was going into a cocoon to come out something different. And that's great. So I'm really, really interested in what the new Fiend is going to look like. And they're doing a good job of keeping him relevant. He's a presence on the show without actually being there. It's pretty clear that he's probably just saying, "Hey, this is what we should be doing. This is what we should be doing," and then they going in there and doing it. Hopefully, he's directing this stuff himself. That would be badass if he was directing it. But he's managed to create a way where his character can be omnipresent on the show without physically being there. He can be there via Alexa Bliss and via Randy Orton. And then if he needed to be there via the puppets, he could do that too. So he doesn't need to physically be in the building. Doesn't need to physically be on the show all the time to be present on the show. They've been doing a really good job with that. And the Fiend being gone for 4 fucking months is it's pretty slick. That's Undertaker stuff right there. I don't know, Undertaker used to go on vacation. He used to go on like real vacations. He used to be gone, and then he'd just pop back up out of nowhere. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in like what we're going to be doing here, and it ought to be fun. Like, that's the most important thing when it comes to these Firefly Funhouse matches and anything like that, is it needs to be fun. Now, how we get there with the doubles and everything, I don't know. Like, it's going to be a fun setup, and this seems to have been Randy's thing from a long, long time now, and I'm actually glad that they're telling this story long form, because the story of Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt going back to 2017, I believe it was epic. Like, this whole 5-year thing, they need to blow it off in a big way. Because it's about to be the second Bray Wyatt Randy Orton match at WrestleMania. Like, that's legit. Like, can you imagine, like, how many people have really wrestled Randy Orton multiple times at WrestleMania? I think Triple H is the only one, right? I think so this is a big match, and Orton and Wyatt is the kind of guy where he's going to make it special, but it's all going to be about whether the execution is going to turn out right. Now, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a cinematic Firefly Funhouse style match, or would you rather have a street fight, Hell in a Cell, no disqualification style match? Now, me personally, I think they do both well, because Orton is a ring general that can lead Wyatt. I don't think Orton and Wyatt have had bad matches. I think they've had good matches. Obviously, Wyatt is limited because he's, for starters, he working a character. Secondly, he's physical. He's a monster truck. So, but I'm excited either way. I just really want to see where Alexa Bliss is going to, because Alexa Bliss has kind of been doing the same thing for a while. I know that the stalker thing kind of threw everything off, and she hasn't really been at the building, and maybe they got her in a witness protection program or something like that. But I mean, eventually she needs to get freed from the Fiend. And how long is she going to be under the Fiend's control? And how are we going to get her out from under the Fiend's control. Like that would be so much fun. You know, if we could figure out how we're gonna break the Fiend's control over Alexa Bliss and severing his connection to the world as it is now, because she's essentially his connection to the WWE right now. And Randy Orton, if he wanted to get rid of her, would have to sever that connection. And the only way to do that is to get rid of Alexa Bliss. And, you know, setting her on fire might be one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to, you know, have somebody else sever that connection. Maybe that's when we could look into Nikki Cross. But that would mean they would have to care about Nikki Cross. And, you know, them actually putting some effort into her, which they'll never do. They'll never do that. Now, especially not with that theme song. They'll never do that. But so which one would you prefer? Would you rather prefer a live match or a Firefly Funhouse cinematic match? Let me know in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. You want to send cash via Cash App, please do so in the comment section below. And thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.